My name's Mad Matt Lugos and welcome to Cyberpunk 2077. So this is the setup video, the video before the actual playthrough, where I'm just going to go through my character creation, a bit of roleplay background for my V, and go through my whole mod list I'm going to be using for my blind playthrough of Cyberpunk. So I'm extremely excited. I'm finally here. I've been very patient. I've waited. Decided when the game came out, even though I was really invested in playing this game from years ago, I just decided to wait. I didn't want to. Well, I wanted to prioritize my first experience being as enjoyable as possible. So I wanted to wait for patches, for mods that could just get it, just right. So that's what we're going to be exploring in this shorter video, the calm before the storm, if you will. So first off, my V. So I've written a whole background. I've tried to write it in the style of kind of Cyberpunk, using some of the slang, some of the terminology, and the kind of a bit of a dark backstory for my V. So I won't spoil that. I'm going to run a little intro bit here. Here you go. I don't know why I'm writing this. I'm even using ink and paper like Shakespeare or some shit. But I took a new batch of dose when I got back to my apartment, so I feel like there's an earthquake happening and the world might end pretty soon. My name's Neve, but the handle everyone uses is V. That's Night City for you, reducing you to a single letter that only sounds like it's in your actual name. Typical. I was born in London. My mother was working at a bar in Chelsea one night when some hot shit corpo came in and swept her off her feet. 9 months later, I was born. 9 months earlier, the hot shit corpo was long gone. I lived in London until I was 12. All my mother told me about the face from Arasaka was that I had his eyes, his bright blue eyes. I never had the heart to tell her that he was probably cybered up with Kuroshi's. I liked it in London. I spent a lot of time running around with a gang of tech nerds. Called ourselves the Chrome Rats. I was the daughter of a rat after all. We'd find old tech and figure out how it worked. Even though I was younger, they treated me like one of them. All of us pretending to be a chilled little poser gang, stealing from the corp and making our own chrome. I never saw Rasheen too much, my mum. He was always somewhere else, trying to find some corpo or chroma who'd give her the ticket to the high life. She always told me that I was holding her back. If it wasn't for me, then she'd be walking down some red carpet, wearing the latest synth skin and posing for the second-rate medias and their cams. If Night City's taught me anything, it's that you need to get your own ticket. If anyone gives you one, it's probably a fake. Little did I know, that corpo rat would come back on a business trip and look for the same hookup 10 years later. When he found out about me, he must have felt some kind of guilt. So he jetted us off to Night City. I moved from the streets to Beaverville in less than 24 hours, and I fucking hated it. Francis, of course his name was Francis, my dad, enrolled me in some hideous Arasaka private school to wash the street smell off me. Where all the corpo kids went, we learned Japanese and had teachers that were too scared to discipline anyone in case the corpo parents had them killed for it. I had no tech to tinker with and no friends to help me find some, so I found another place that I like better, the net. The net's dead, of course, but I found a way to access local networks, read all my teachers' and classmates' messages and emails. Boring, but better than actually talking to any of them. Rasheen had the high life she wanted. To compensate for never being around, the rat left a never-ending supply of drugs and dose for her. How kind. That kindness led her to OD when I was 14. Every time I looked in the mirror after that, I saw his eyes. I started to hate myself as much as him. I survived corpo school until I was 18. I thought I was going to be free after that, but then my father told me he'd secured me an entry-level position at Arasaka. As if that made up for never being around and poisoning Rasheen. I said no, of course, but he warned me that I was already in the Arasaka database. Turning down the job could get me flatlined. Him too. The latter consequence made me consider walking away anyway. Unfortunately, I took it. What else was I going to do? I'd just spent 6 years in rat school. It made sense to me. A mad kind of sense, but sense nonetheless. After my first payment from the Corp, I went to the nearest Ripperdoc and had those blue rat eyes ripped completely out of my head, and never spoke to old Francis again. A year into my job at Arasaka, I heard that my father had been killed. He botched a job that led to info getting leaked to Militech. Silly rat. He didn't get a funeral, or even mentioned by anyone again. It was like he never even existed. Mess with Saka, and they'll erase you from history. I already knew that, but now I really knew it. And that's where I am now, however many years later, working for the Corp, dosing myself with dwarfs, waiting for the day I make a mistake and get erased from the annals of time. That earthquake would be nice, right about now. Okay, so that's my V. Now, obviously, I don't know if V has a name that's revealed at some point, so I've just decided to input my own there. I've tried to have like a bit of a dark backstory that maybe plays into how I might want to play the game. We are playing with using the Corpo life path. I thought it would be really interesting to have kind of, to descend from the ranks of kind of corporate life back down to maybe where my character's backstory started when she was younger. Kind of like coming full circle, and to try and keep in with the themes of Cyberpunk. I'd like a big theme of my playthrough to be trying to hold on to our humanity, because if you read the books, right, I've been reading, oh god, Cyberpunk Red. This is flipped, so you can't really read it, and I've been rereading the Cyberpunk 2077 source book, which are both great. I recommend those to anyone who's interested, if you want to get invested in the game before playing. So, there's a lot of selfishness, a lot of commercialism, a lot of darkness, really, in a cyberpunk world where it's kind of difficult to survive and you've got to kind of look out for yourself a lot, whereas I'd like a big theme here to be trying to find the humanity in this very kind of dark, inhumane world, or at least this city is definitely like an epitome of all that. Anyway, so I'd like that to be a big theme for my character, but of course I have to see where the whole journey takes us. So here is my V, kind of in a non-static form. Okay, so in terms of the way that my V looks, I was trying to decide whether I was going to base it on maybe a sci-fi character or maybe base it on more of like a punk 80s kind of influence character, right? Because the aesthetic does kind of have an 80s vibe to it, at least with some of the hair and the makeup and stuff, because that's when the originals were written. Originally, I was going to have my V based on Sabyok from Squid Game, who's played by Yo-Yeon Chung, I think, the South Korean actress. And I was hoping, yeah, that might have tied into Arasaka a little bit, but even though I got her looking up okay, I couldn't really get the hair right, so I decided to go down more of the punk route. Now, if any of you have seen This Is England, and specifically the follow-up series, not just the film, I decided to base my V on a character called Kelly, who I'll put on screen now and show you. And the episode where she kind of gets married, spoiler alert, she has this kind of undercut spiky pink hair. And obviously this hair's red, and there is a pink hair option, but it doesn't have like the black sides where it's undercut. So I thought this was a cool character to pick. Obviously we've got the different eyes, which ties into our backstory, and yeah, and I'll change the hair color as we play through the game whenever I feel like it. Maybe depending on what quests we're doing, maybe it'll be more appropriate to have certain hairstyles. I don't know. So yeah, that is my V, Neve. I don't know if we're going to have to change that name at some point, but I just tried to tie her and her mother's name having a bit of an Irish feel to it, even though we don't look particularly Irish, but whatever. Right, so that's my V. Those are the kind of roleplay elements that I might try and incorporate. So yeah, try and hold on to our humanity in a kind of inhumane place. Go back to our roots, maybe from when we lived in London before we came to Night City. And in terms of character builds, I'm going to be focusing mostly on like intelligence and hacking and stuff. As I tried to tie it in the backstory there. It started off being a bit kind of techie, but then after we came to Night City, we really got invested in the net and net running and everything. So that's my loose plan for how I'll build my character, but it's all subject to change. But in terms of my initial build, I'll put the heavier points into intelligence and hacking, but it's all I don't know how it'll go. I have to feel out the game. Now obviously this is my test save. We're in V's apartment, so while this is a blind playthrough, I've played a small amount of the intro or I've played the prologue obviously, and I've played a little bit of Act 1. So in terms of what missions I've already done, so gone through the whole life path beginning. I've played through the prologue where V and Jackie assault the Scav hideout, and we get our apartment. After that we begin Act 1. I've met Dexter Deshawn, and I've gone to the nightclub, whatever it's called, where we do the brain dance tutorial, and that's as far as I've gone with the main mission. I've done a couple of little side quests in Watson just to test out the combat and everything. It was all Tiger Claw stuff, if I'm remembering correctly. I haven't done any of those things for a little while, except for when I've been testing out a couple of mods, and I've been driving around Watson to test mods out, like I just said. So that's as far as I've played. So after that, it is completely blind. Yeah, so that's kind of the whole background. In terms of character stuff, that's everything you need to know. So if you're not interested in the mods and all that kind of stuff, you've got everything you need here, and then you can maybe move on to part 1 when it comes out. If you are interested in the mods, and because it will change the way the game looks quite a bit, then stay tuned. So first, let's just go over my graphics settings. I did do an incremental upgrade to my graphics card, so I'm playing on a 3080 at the minute. I tend to sell stuff on my computer quite often and recycle stuff to upgrade, so I am using the graphical preset recommendations based off the Digital Foundry video, right? So when the game came out, they did a big optimization video, and they have like recommended settings that let you keep most of the visual fidelity of the game while gaining quite a bit of performance. And I've tested a lot of this back and forth, and you do gain a lot of frames from using their preset. So I would really recommend that. I'll leave a link to that in the description if you're interested. Obviously, I only have to prioritize 60 FPS because I'm recording for YouTube. There's no way I could get this to 120 to record at that, so I'm only prioritizing 60. So, like, local shadows and ray trace lighting are probably the biggest hits in terms of ray tracing. When I was playing on the 3070, I would have the shadows turned off to bump it up to almost 60 frames, but that was still playing on quality. But playing without DLSS isn't really an option unless I like drastically reduce if I reduce a lot more of these settings. So the game still looks fine when you play on quality. My one recommendation is you don't play above quality, because you really strip down the visual quality when you play it balanced and further up. But I guess that's just a personal opinion. If you want just higher frame rate, then that's up to you. So those are the settings we're playing on. As you can see here, I am playing with the colorblind mode on, because if you look here, I find it way more difficult to read everything when it's in red, and this basically just means everything's in white or slightly off-white, because I'm going to be spending a lot of time in the journal reading everything, fleshing out the characters, the lore, the city, learning about everything, which I've not read anything off. I've held back on that, all that kind of stuff, obviously. We're playing in the colorblind mode. It just makes everything much easier to read, and kind of matches the purple theme I've got on the camera as well, I suppose. Okay, so now let's move on to the mods. Again, these will all be linked in the description. If you have any questions about getting stuff installed and you're not too sure, feel free to ask me in the comments. I'm no expert, but so I am a layman as well when it comes to modding. I've only played a handful of games that have been heavily modded, Witcher 3 being one of them. Mass Effect Andromeda I played with 6 or 7 different mods on, quality of life stuff. So I've got a mix of stuff. I'm not playing with any major overhauls. Mostly immersion and quality of life stuff, but there's maybe 20 mods that I'm using. I've got the list over here. I'll put stuff on screen when I'm talking about it. Okay, so the 3 main mods that you're going to want to install that kind of help other mods work. So Cyber Engine tweaks, Red Script, and the Appearance menu mod. I've got them all 3 of them installed. Cyber Engine tweaks has a menu in here. Appearance menu mod does as well. So there's lots of stuff you can do. You can change keybinds in here that you can't otherwise, and stuff that are from other mods. So I don't really need to explain those mods. They just enable other things, but you really need to have those to get others to work. So the mod that I was really excited about when I found it. Now I have been navigating the Nexus mods page very carefully to try and avoid spoilers. I've been looking for specific kinds of mods with a few surprises, but it's, you know, I've been treading very carefully to avoid spoilers. So the main mod that I was really excited about was a weather mod. Now, from everything I've read, the weather actually is kind of a bit weird in that it's just sunny all the time, which doesn't really fit the setting. If you read the lore and understand everything, there's a lot of pollution, global warming, storms, pollution everywhere in Night City in particular, but across the world. It's a very dystopic view of the future, right? And there are these distinct weather types in the game. As you can see outside, it is pouring with acid rain. We've got the heavy pollution in the sky. And it can give the game a bit more of a Blade Runner feel at times with all the rain, but there's sandstorms, heavy rain, acid rain, pollution, fog, and they just don't show up as much in the base game. But when you have this, with this weather probability rebalance installed, it cycles the weather a bit quicker, and you get loads more variety. And when you're walking around the city, or at least when I've tested it walking around Watson, it just gives the game a completely different atmosphere with each different type, right? And there's still sunny weather in the game, we'll still see that. So it's just way more immersive for me, personally. The only thing that might break immersion is some of the NPCs are still wearing summery clothes when it's raining, I guess, but I'm not too bothered by that. The way it makes the city look is just incredible, so I would highly recommend this mod. Yeah, so that's one I was really excited about. Now, the other thing that really aids immersion for me is having... See, the weather's changing now, actually. Beautiful timing. So it's changing to normal rain. You can see the colour difference. And the rain might stop, or it might just go to normal rain. Okay, so... now, I'm using a mod called Limited HUD. Now, the one thing I didn't like about the game, just from playing small amounts of it, was how things didn't disappear off the screen, like quest objectives. I need a quest. Hang on. Yes. Right, so basically the HUD would be like this. And you could never get rid of that exclamation mark if I just wanted to walk around. The map would always be there. You could completely turn it off, but you couldn't ever get rid of that exclamation mark. So Limited HUD lets you lets you control when the HUD appears, right? So at the minute, I've got a toggle for it. I can turn it on and off. Or if I zoom in quickly, just to flick it, just so I can see, oh, well, that's where my objective is, I'll go over there. It just keeps everything nice and minimal. It's completely programmable. You need another mod called Native Settings UI to get this thing to appear in the menu here for mods. And then you can go to Limited HUD and completely program when things appear. I'm very picky about UI stuff. Like, I like it to appear, like, I just like it to be how I want. And particularly when I'm recording, obviously I'm obstructing a part of the screen with my head. This is helpful for stuff like that. Now, in tandem with that, I am using a mod called I'm using a HUD editor called the HUDitor, which is a horrendous name, but that is what I'm using. Because as you can see, the bits of the HUD aren't where they're supposed to be. Okay? So the HUD editor lets me relocate bits of the HUD and just put them wherever I want. So normally the map is in the top right hand corner where my head is, so I can just relocate it here and put it where I want. I can make it bigger or smaller. This HUD is great. This mod, sorry, is great. It just lets you customize everything and just keep everything where you want it, right? Everyone has different preferences, and it means I can put the oh, no. There we go. And then, so like my quest objective is over here. I can put that just underneath the camera, which perfectly slots in there. I've moved the grenades and everything over here to this side, made it a bit smaller. I've kept everything else pretty much the same, so that's the HUD editor. I really recommend that. It's just a nice quality of life feature. I am using what else have I got here? So yeah, I said native settings, colorblind mode. So in terms of cosmetic stuff, I am using a few cosmetic things. I've not gone crazy with this. Okay, so when you go into the mirror now, and from the 1.5 update to the game, you can now change your appearance in the mirror here. You couldn't do it before, which was kind of a bummer. You had to use a mod to do it, but now you can actually just change your appearance whenever you want. But it doesn't unlock everything, so there is a mod called the appearance change unlocker, which lets you change everything, I believe, like so tattoos and everything that you couldn't otherwise change. And you can also save presets. I don't think that this is in the base game. This is from the mod. In terms of, I'm only using like 2 cosmetics. So I've got a mod for different eyes, Carla's eyes mod. So you need 2 mods to get this working, but it just means that she's got loads of different versions of the eyes. I can't remember what this particular pack is called, but yeah, it just gives you some nice options. I was maybe going to go with one of the black eye options, but I think this fits in with our backstory nice. We don't want any horrible blue, right, because of our backstory. I'm also using a bit of a skin retexture mod. It was just so that for this makeup here, just made it look the way I wanted. So yeah, oh god, I changed the hair. There we go. Yeah, so there are 3 kind of basic things to help with the cosmetics. And oh, I guess it is a cosmetic mod as well, but I am using a long sleeve mod. So from when I found this, I basically found out that when you are driving or a weapon comes out, if you're wearing a long sleeve coat or top, then it rolls the sleeves up automatically. Whereas when we pull a weapon out, just means we can see our clothes a bit, which is just a nice little immersion thing for us. Now, as you can see, I've got, when the weapons get pulled out, we get a nice little animation. Now, that only usually plays when you equip a weapon for the very, very first time, but it's like really cool. So I just installed the mod that's called Always First Equip, which means every time I pull the weapon out and we're not in combat, we just get the cool little animation. These are just kind of basic weapons you get at the start of the game. And you can always interrupt them by zooming in, so you're never locked into these animations. They're just cool. I mean, why wouldn't you want that? And as you can see, when I pull my weapon out, my health appears because of the limited HUD mod, and this is also customizable. Here you can kind of make it have a probability, or yeah, you can have a hotkey for it. It's all up to you. So I am using a bit of some custom controls. I've got an untrack quest button so that this, if I want the HUD on the screen all the time, but I don't want to see this exclamation mark, I can just untrack the quest. That's not in the base game, weirdly enough. So that lets us do that. I've got a dedicated dodge button. Again, that mod will be linked. It just means I've got it mapped to one of the mouse buttons instead of having to press a double tap on keyboard and mouse, which I don't think is the most intuitive input for that. And we've got a custom walk speed as well. They did patch that in 1.5, a walk button, can you believe it? But that's how that works. Now, as you can see, I'm using another mod which is for immersive first-person camera mod. So in the base game, the immersive the first-person view when you look down is this, like, you know, you're hunched over or something. You can only see your crotch and your feet. But with this mod, it just means that we can see our body a bit better, see our clothes. It's you know, we're not going to get to see ourselves too much, so this just means we can see the outfits we've got on. Fashion is important in Night City, in this kind of universe, right? so that just makes it a bit more immersive. I have got a mod for the vehicle first-person customization, so this vehicle camera here, as you can just see this little bit here in the settings, that lets us just change the camera angle when we're driving. I've only driven that basic car, so I don't know how useful or important that will be, but that just means we can change the camera angle a little bit if we want to drive in first person instead of third person. Right, what else have I got? Yeah, first person stuff, the sleeves. Oh, and I've got the street vendors mod. So when you walk around the city, when I've walked around Watson, there are kind of street vendors everywhere, you know, selling food, selling clothes, selling coffee and stuff, and you can't really buy anything off them. This mod just means that there are basic vendors who you can actually buy stuff off everywhere. They're already in the game, they just, you can't really buy anything off them. So this is great. It just means we can sell stuff on the fly, or look for a new item of clothing, or a boost from an energy drink or whatever. And we can just always interact with them. A nice little immersive thing, in my opinion. A few extra things to do with how the light will work. I've got a torch mod, or a flashlight mod. I like having a torch. It's not in the game, so that's really useful. Really simple. Again, it's programmable if you have native settings installed. The flashlight here, you control how bright it is, the color of the light, how broad it is, blah blah blah. I have got back mapped onto the right mouse button a lot more now, so I don't have to keep pressing escape all the time to exit menus, and weird stuff like if you try and use this computer, the normal key in the base game to exit is C, and that's just why. So instead it's right click now. Just, you know, little things like that really help. I've got like clean screen mods, so when you use the scanner for hacking, it takes away the green tint and the shadows in the corners, so it's just a bit easier to see here. I don't like distorting the view with stuff like this. Like, why would you want to distort it when you're trying to like hack like small objects and stuff? And the same thing goes for crouching. The little shadow effect that would appear to indicate that you're in stealth, I've removed that with a mod as well. We've got a little indicator in the background, we can see that we're crouched. The immersive first person doesn't work when we have a weapon drawn, unfortunately, but we're not going to be staring at our feet too much when we're in the middle of combat. Right, what else have we got? So, yeah, I've explained about the controls. The last things, I guess, are a few cosmetic things. I've installed the more Gore mod and the more like extra blood splatters, I guess. So from I just found these mods randomly, and just means the combat looks a bit more brutal, as it would do if you were in the middle of like a firefight or a knife fight, and you know, shot someone with a shotgun. Blood would go everywhere, so it's kind of cool. I've tested that out a little bit. It's pretty cool. And the last one is I'm not sure whether I'm going to use this because it's not being fully updated. It's a custom apartments mod. So it's a fabulous mod. The person who made it, sorry, made different apartments based on the life paths. So there are like 3 different street kid apartments, 3 different corpo apartments, 3 different nomad style themed apartments. But it's not been updated all the way yet. Only the street kid variations are available. So this apartment here, it looks fine, right? It's kind of empty though. But then if we use the appearance menu mod, and then holy shit, look at this. Now I'm not going to go in and explore. I don't want to spoil it if you guys want to see this mod. It's kind of something that seeing for yourself is really cool. But there's different versions. This is the techie one. I like this one the most, I think, with a cool floor and all the tech stuff and computers everywhere. And there's one that's like a metalhead one, like with instruments everywhere and band posters and stuff. Yeah, it's great. And then when you go back to this, kind of puts everything in perspective, right? But yeah, that is everything. I might not use the apartments mod, I'm not too sure. I'll just see how they get updated. But yeah, I think that is everything. Oh no, one last thing. I've not tested this mod because I can't really test it. It's one for using different car paint jobs and models. So you can't kind of paint any of the cars that you buy apparently. So this mod just lets you reskin the cars in different colours and stuff. It's not been updated all the way yet for 1.5, but it's half updated. But I haven't been able to test it because I don't own any cars. I've only got the basic starting car, so I'll have to test that when I get there. But it's the guy who made the mod also made an apartment mod that changes a lot of the stuff in the apartment color-wise, and it's just like a simple drag and drop mod. You don't have to do much to get it to work. So if it works the same as that, then I think it should be okay. And that is all of the mods, I believe. If I've missed anything, I'll mention it in the comments section. Everything will be linked in the description. If you have any questions, please let me know. But that is the setup for Cyberpunk 2077, guys. I hope I've not missed anything out, but I am extremely excited to get started on our journey through Night City. I'm kind of nervous, but I'm anticipating having a great time here because, you know, I love The Witcher 3, I love The Witcher 2, I love the style of writing that CD Projekt Red has. They tell great dark stories, and this is the perfect setting for that, right? So I hope that I get a similar kind of experience to The Witcher 3 and The Witcher 2 and everything, so I hope you join me. It's going to be a fantastic experience with me, with RV, Neve, and yeah, let me know your thoughts. If you have any questions about the mods, I'm all ears. And just remember, everybody, never trust an on-crate. I'll see you back in Night City.